This is the fourth in a series of programs on the 22 mysteries of the Bible. Yes, 22. Just as there are 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and all of these mysteries are found in the New Testament. The word mystery is not listed in the Old Testament at all. 22 mysteries following the meanings of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. That's in the singular form, mystery. But the word mysteries, plural, is found 5 times in the New Testament, and they correspond to the 5 Sophete forms, or the final forms, of 5 Hebrew letters. On today's Prophecy in the News, we're going to take the last 4 letters and these 5 Sophete letters and present them to you, and what I feel is perhaps the best of the 4 programs. Gary Stearman is here to discuss with me the 22 mysteries of the Bible.
And the 22 mysteries corresponding to the meanings of each of the 22 letters of the alphabet in order. We're ready for the 19th mystery, and we're going to study the last 4 mysteries. And interestingly, J.R., they all come in the book of Revelation.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is the final proof.
This is fantastic.
Isn't it fantastic? And we have here the 19th mystery, the Kuf, and I'm going to read the 19th and 20th verses of the first chapter of Revelation. Write the things which thou hast seen, the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter. The mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches. The 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches. Wow. J.R., the letter Kuf is the symbol for holiness and cycles of growth.
Yeah.
And nothing could more symbolize the 7 churches of Asia Minor.
Isn't that amazing?
Than holiness and growth cycles.
We get down to this most fascinating letter, the Kuf, and we have the 7 golden candlesticks. And you know, we wrote a book, Gary and I together put this book together recently called The Mystery of the Menorah, that's the 7 golden candlesticks, and the Hebrew alphabet. And in here we have the meanings of all the 22 letters and the various examples of how they are used in the Scripture. And since then, of course, we have done literally 28 studies, which we have on videotape. You can see these tapes here. Some of them are included in the book, but many of them after the book was published. And this, to me, is one of the most fascinating of all of the studies, for this opens up the mysteries.
Yeah. J.R., the Kuf, this letter that is the 19th mystery of the New Testament, it stands for 2 fundamental things. First of all, it stands for Kedushah, which is the Hebrew word for holiness. And secondly, it stands for Hakafos, which are cycles of growth. This is the theological assertion that everything over time proceeds in a cyclical nature. And this cycle ultimately takes one toward the completion of the redemptive pattern of God. This is exactly what we see in the mystery of the 7 stars, which are the 7 churches and their angels. We see a pattern of cycles of growth culminating, Revelation 4, we believe to be the rapture of the church.
Yeah. You know, he says, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, chapter 1 of Revelation, verse 10. The Lord's day represents the 7th day, that is the 7th millennium of history. And so as the 7th millennium commences, John describes these events in the book of the Revelation. And what is so fascinating to me, Gary, is that this study of the Kuf here and the growth cycles has to be the book of Revelation. The Kuf is the letter of the second coming.
Yes.
On one side of the Kuf is the Tzadi, on the other side of the Kuf is the Resh, standing for the wicked. The righteous and the wicked on either side of the Kuf. That's Judgment Day. That's when he puts the righteous on his right hand and the wicked on his left hand. This is described by the Kuf. It is the singular letter for the second coming. It's number 19 in the group, and I think it meaning growth cycles. The Kuf is saying, look at me, I'm number 19. I think it refers to the 1900s. This has been the definitive century leading up to the conclusion of the 6th day and the beginning of the 7th millennium millennium or the seventh millennial day. We have had wars, World War I and World War II. We have had famine. We have earthquakes and pestilences in diverse places. We have seen these signs that Jesus spoke about in Matthew 24. This is the 1900s.
And thus it stands then, the 19th mystery, which is the mystery of the summation of all things in God's body of believers. And some of them, of course, will be the called out elect from Israel. Some will be the called out bride of Christ. But the Kof speaks of this cycle.
And you notice, Gary, there are 7 churches here in this Kof mystery. That's the completion. There are not 8 church ages. There are not 6 church ages. There are 7 church ages. All the way from Ephesus to Laodicea, we see 2,000 years. This means the 2,000 years has come and gone. It is complete.
Now, with that, we come to the next letter, which is Resh. This is a very simple letter, and it stands for wicked, the wicked and wickedness in general. And in this, the 20th mystery, we read the following, Revelation 10:7, "But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants, the prophets." And you know what he told his prophets, every one of them. He said, the wicked shall be destroyed.
Mm-hmm. And so this begins the beginning of the final destruction of wickedness. An excellent choice for the Resh.
The Resh. And we are now coming to the end of the mystery of iniquity, which is the overall theme of the 22 collective mysteries. The next one is fascinating, J.R. This comes in Revelation 17, verse 5. And everyone's familiar with this mystery. This is the mystery symbolized by the letter Sheen. It is the 21st mystery, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. This mystery is a strange one. It encompasses the meanings of the letter Sheen, which ordinarily stands for El Shaddai, that is the Lord as provider. But the Jews say that this letter has a curious dual nature. It can be turned upside down and corrupted so that it becomes sheker, which is the word for corruption and falsehood. It's a system, say the Jews, which appears to be orderly, but that is deceptive, because what it is an inversion of the natural order in which God is provider. And J.R., this is what we see with Mystery Babylon the Great.
Perfect description.
It really is, because Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, has become the false provider of everything. Isn't that amazing?
Absolutely amazing. And then let's quickly get on to the last one, the Tav, because this also speaks of Mystery Babylon, and this, the finality of it, Fine, the end, the conclusion. Let's goodbye, Mystery Babylon.
Just 2 verses later, we have the 22nd and concluding mystery. And this is an angel speaking to John. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. Tav stands for truth and perfection. And by the way, when the angel begins to tell John the story of the woman and the beast, the mystery of the woman and the beast, what he's really doing is telling John how the woman and the beast are going to be utterly smashed.
Destroyed.
Destroyed.
And so these 22 letters are actually the story of the mystery of iniquity, from its inception to its finish.
And from this point forward in the book of Revelation, that is from Revelation 17:7 and on to the end of the book, is the story of the decline of evil completely and the rise of the rule of God.
The coming of Christ, Armageddon, total destruction of wickedness, Satan bound for 1,000 years and finally thrown into the lake of fire, the final judgment, and the home of the righteous. It's all there. And so you have seen 22 mysteries in the singular form. The word mystery, singular, found 22 times in the Bible, all in the New Testament, and each one following the theme of each successive letter of the Hebrew alphabet. There are 5 final forms, and we will show those to you when we return in just a moment. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We have looked upon the 22 mysteries of the New Testament. 22 times in the Bible, all in the New Testament, the word mystery is given. And each time, in proper alphabetic order, they follow the meanings of the Hebrew letters. But 5 times throughout the Scripture, all in the New Testament, the word mysteries, plural, is found. And each of these 5 mysteries, plural, follow the meanings of the final forms, that is, the 5 Hebrew letters that are called Sophite letters. Gary Stearman, tell us why they are Sophite. It shows how they appear at the end of Hebrew letters, why they are
in general. The general explanation is that owing to some of the vagaries of the Hebrew language, a few letters were written with a final form, so that you would know exactly where one word broke off and another initiated, back in the days when Hebrew words were not separated in the text. And as it happened, the kaf, with an elongated tail, signifies the kaf that comes at the end of the word. The mem, which is a closed letter, written like a square, is terminal, M. The nun, written with a long tail, is the final nun. The peh, written with a long tail, is the final peh. And the tzadi, written with a long straight tail, is the final tzadi. And these 5 final forms, or Sophite forms, were originally developed, according to Hebrew scholars, so that word breaks could be determined. But God, in His wisdom, really has given an expanded set of meanings to the Hebrew alphabet, because not only are these 5 final grammatical forms, but they are 5 spiritual forms.
And prophecies.
And prophecies.
That is, they refer to the final days, the end of days.
To the end of days. The kaf is the final crowning accomplishment. The closed mem is concealment. Certain things in the end of days will be shut up, never to be seen again. The nun is the man of faith standing straight before God. The peh is the speech of righteousness in the kingdom. And the tzadi is the man standing with upraised hands before God in the end of days, standing righteous. And so all of these are prophecies of the end times. These 5 final forms we find associated with the 5 occurrences of the word mysteries, plural, in the New Testament. The first one coming in Matthew 13:11. And this is when Jesus is talking about the kingdom, and He says, He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. And in every one of these 5 cases, J.R., we find individuals being addressed. Now, in the 22, they were sort of given generically, but the 5 plural mysteries seem to be addressed to individuals. To you, the disciples, it's given to understand. To them who are not of us, they can't understand. And so we find here the mystery of the kingdom and the way it operates among individuals.
Fascinating. Now this kaf here, this crowning accomplishment of the future kingdom that's coming, is associated with Christ as the potentate. He is the political leader of the kingdom. Matthew, of course, being a Levite, gives Christ as the King of Kings. And he, in his genealogy, for example, he has him from Solomon and David to Solomon, down through Joseph to Jesus. And even though Joseph was not the father of Christ and Jesus was virgin born, still politically he fits the pattern of the king, the scion of David, the offspring of the house of David. And so this presents the kingdom.
And
on earth.
The crown. The letter Kaf is the letter of Keter, which is the crown.
The crown of the king.
The crown of the king. He will wear the eternal crown. And the next mysteries, plural, comes in Luke 8:10. Again, Jesus talking, and he said, "Unto you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God, but to others in parables, that seeing they might not see, and hearing they might not understand." Now this is the mystery of the mem sophit, which is the closed mem, and its specific meaning is concealment. A perfect fit for this particular mystery.
Yes, and it's interesting that these first two are in Matthew and in Luke. In Matthew, Jesus is presented as King of Kings. In Luke, he's presented as Lord of Lords. In Matthew's genealogy, he is the scion of David through Solomon, the political potentate to sit upon the throne of the kingdom. But in Luke, he's presented as the Son of God, the seed of the woman. And Matthew's genealogy has 66 generations total. Luke's are 77, the number of God. 66 of Matthew, the number of man. So Matthew presents his humanity, Luke presents his deity, and so we have the two wrapped up here in the mem.
We do. And our next mysteries, plural, in fact, the concluding three all come in 1 Corinthians, which I think is amazing. And we find the first one, which is the Nun Sophit. This letter symbolizes the faithful standing straight before God. This is 1 Corinthians 4:1. "Let a man so account of us as of the ministers of Christ, as stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful."
There's the meaning of the Nun.
The meaning of the Nun is faithfulness.
Wow.
It's perfect. It's a perfect fit.
Absolutely. What can I say? Oh, this is great. The next one, Gary.
The next one, 1 Corinthians 13:2. And 13:2, of course, 13 is called the love chapter. And we have here the pe, which is the mouth and speech. 1 Corinthians 13:2, "And though I have the gift of prophecy," now that's speech, "though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing." How about that?
Wow, that's incredible.
This is the mystery of love.
Yeah.
But it's couched in speech. Speaking is not the whole story.
Yeah, when you preach, you need to preach in love. When you speak, you need to speak in love. When you open your mouth, you ought to say nice things, like the old saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And that's basically what we have here, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And the last one, JR, the final mysteries, plural, is totally amazing. It is the Tzadi Sophit, which is drawn calligraphically to resemble a man with his upraised hands standing straight before God in eternal fellowship with God the Father. And it says, "For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto God. For no man understandeth him. Howbeit in the Spirit he speaketh mysteries."
Yes.
Ooh.
The tongue here must surely be the Hebrew alphabet, and the meaning of these letters, these mysterious letters, these 22 affirmations of the ineffable God. And when the righteous man speaks this tongue, the King James here refers to it as unknown. Right. That is, it is something that's not just the normal tongue, it is the mysteries of the tongue.
Now, JR, what we have here then in the study of mysteries singular and mysteries plural is 27 aspects of the mystery of redemption, the destruction of iniquity, the salvation of the righteousness and of the righteous, and finally the righteous man standing straight before God with his hands upraised in worship and praise throughout eternity. We have the total picture of redemption in the Hebrew alphabet as an organizing structural principle of the New Testament. No man could have put this together. It was put together by God.
And some of you watching or listening to us may be saying, that sounds like an unknown tongue to me. Right here in the very end of the 27 letters of these mysteries, this alphabetic design of the mysteries, he refers to the very fact that the wisdom of the mysteries of the Hebrew alphabet, this tongue, this Hebrew language that God used in the creating of the universe, and even gives us right down in minutest detail of the destruction of evil. It's all there. And what a way to cap it off. That is really terrific.
Beautiful story. Prophecy in the News is a viewer-supported ministry sponsored by our many friends across America and in your area. For your gift of $10, you can receive a special edition of our current programs on audio tape. Or for a gift of $20, we'll send you our programs on videotape. For either order, add $3 for shipping and handling, and to order, call the 800 number on your screen right now.